Welcome. Welcome to the course of fluid mechanics. Today we are going to discuss about the different type of pressure, that is the absolute pressure, vacuum pressure and gauge pressure. How this pressure is defined and what is the relationship among this pressure. So each pressure is defined with respect to some reference pressure line. That is each pressure, gauge pressure, vacuum pressure, absolute pressure, these are measured with respect to some reference line of pressure. So first come to the gauge pressure. What is this gauge pressure? This is the gauge pressure. So this gauge pressure is defined as the pressure which is measured with respect to or with reference to atmospheric pressure. If the pressure is measured with respect to atmospheric pressure, then it is called the gauge pressure. And this pressure should be above the atmospheric line. If there is an atmospheric line, then above the atmospheric line, the pressure is measured with respect to this atmospheric pressure. That pressure is called the gauge pressure. In simple words, gauge pressure is measured with respect to atmospheric pressure. Similarly, this vacuum pressure is also measured with respect to atmospheric pressure. But this vacuum pressure is below the atmospheric pressure line. This vacuum pressure is below the atmospheric pressure line, and this gauge pressure is above the atmospheric pressure line. Both are measured, gauge pressure and vacuum pressure are measured with respect to atmospheric pressure line. What is the difference between them is gauge pressure is measured above the atmospheric line and vacuum pressure is measured below the atmospheric line. So this is about the gauge pressure and vacuum pressure. Now come to the absolute pressure. What is this absolute pressure? This pressure is measured with reference to absolute vacuum pressure. This absolute pressure is measured. This absolute pressure is measured with respect to absolute vacuum pressure. Absolute vacuum pressure, that is the absolute zero pressure. If pressure is measured, pressure at a point is measured with respect to absolute vacuum pressure, then that pressure is called atmospheric absolute pressure. If the pressure is measured with respect to absolute vacuum pressure, absolute zero pressure, then that pressure is called the absolute pressure. This absolute vacuum pressure is also the absolute zero pressure. That is completely zero pressure. That means if the pressure is measured with respect to the pressure reference line of absolute vacuum pressure, if this is the reference line, then the pressure is called the absolute pressure. If the reference line is atmospheric pressure, then it is called either gauge pressure or vacuum pressure. It depends on the if the point is above the atmospheric pressure line, then it is called the gauge pressure. If the pressure is below the atmospheric pressure line, then it is called the vacuum pressure. So this vacuum pressure and gauge pressure measured with respect to atmospheric pressure line, and this absolute pressure is measured with respect to absolute vacuum pressure line or absolute zero pressure line. This absolute vacuum pressure line is also called the absolute zero pressure line. So we can see here in the diagram, it will be more clear. See, this is the absolute zero pressure, that is the absolute vacuum pressure. This bottom reference line is the absolute zero pressure line. And above this line, this is the second line, that is the corresponding to the atmospheric pressure line. There is two reference point. One is the absolute zero pressure line. It is also called the absolute vacuum pressure line. And second one line is the reference line, that is the atmospheric pressure reference line. So these two reference line is there. Now we have to measure the pressure. Point is given in the blue color here. At this point and at this point, we have to measure the pressure. So come to first this point. That is, this point is below the atmospheric pressure line. So pressure at this point with respect to this absolute zero pressure, then it is called the absolute pressure. Here pressure is called the absolute pressure if it is measured with respect to absolute zero line. That is the from this distance to this distance. So the pressure is measured with respect to this absolute zero pressure line. Then it is called the pressure at this point is called the absolute pressure. If we measure the pressure at the same point but with respect to this atmospheric pressure line, that is the line drawn from this atmospheric pressure line to this point, vertical line is drawn, then that pressure is called the vacuum pressure, because this vacuum pressure is measured, this pressure is measured at this point, this pressure is measured with respect to atmospheric pressure line and it is below the atmospheric pressure. So it is called the vacuum pressure. Hope it is clear. So now we are coming to the next point, this upper point. If you measure this, if you measure the pressure at this upper point with respect to this bottom reference line, that is the absolute zero pressure or absolute vacuum pressure. If you measure the pressure with respect to this bottom line, that is the vertical distance from this bottom line to this point, then this pressure is called the absolute pressure. But at the same point, if you measure the pressure with respect to this reference line, that is the atmospheric pressure reference line, then this is the distance that is from this atmospheric pressure reference line to this point. This is the vertical distance. So this pressure is called the gauge pressure because this pressure is measured with respect to this atmospheric pressure line and this pressure is above the atmospheric pressure, so it is called the gauge pressure. If it is below the atmospheric pressure and measured with respect to atmospheric pressure line, then it is called the vacuum pressure. If it is above, then it is called the gauge pressure. If reference line is absolute zero pressure, then it is called the absolute pressure. Pressure at this point is called absolute pressure if it is measured with respect to absolute zero pressure. So here at the upper point, if the pressure is measured with respect to bottom line, then it is called the absolute pressure. If at the below point or lower point, pressure is measured with respect to this absolute zero pressure line, then it is also called the absolute pressure because both at both point pressure is measured with reference to the bottom reference line. That is bottom reference line is what it is? It is absolute zero pressure or absolute vacuum pressure. So this pressure is called the absolute pressure at these points with respect to this bottom reference line. Similarly, gauge and vacuum pressure already explained. So this is the gauge pressure. How we can define this gauge pressure, vacuum pressure, and this absolute pressure. Then what is the relation among these three? So this is the relationship. So this absolute pressure that is equal to the atmospheric pressure plus gauge pressure. Gauge pressure is measured with respect to atmospheric pressure, and if we add the atmospheric pressure with the gauge pressure, then it is called the absolute pressure. Similarly, vacuum pressure, absolute pressure minus this vacuum pressure is equal to atmospheric pressure minus absolute pressure. So this, if you deduct this absolute pressure with the atmospheric pressure, you will get the vacuum pressure. From the diagram, it is also clear. This is your absolute pressure. At this point is absolute pressure. So this is the gauge pressure plus this is your atmospheric pressure line. That is from atmospheric pressure plus this gauge pressure is called the absolute pressure. And this vacuum pressure is equal to atmospheric pressure. This minus is the your absolute pressure. Here is the absolute pressure. So this is from atmospheric line to bottom line. This is atmospheric pressure, and if you detect this amount of pressure, that comes the vacuum pressure. So this is the relationship among these three pressure: absolute pressure, gauge pressure, and vacuum pressure. So now atmospheric pressure head. What is this atmospheric pressure head? Yes, atmospheric pressure head is the distance or vertical distance you can say, and this distance is corresponding to the atmospheric pressure. If you convert this atmospheric pressure into head, then it is called the atmospheric pressure head. You know the formula P equal to rho Gh. I am writing the annotation here. This is your formula P equal to rho G H or Z you can say. So P is the pressure, atmospheric pressure. Suppose atmospheric pressure, what is the in the first here C, you can see here the atmospheric pressure at sea level at 15 degrees centigrade is 101.3 kilonewton per meter square, or it is 10.13 newton per centimeter square. This is just the conversion of unit, or it is 1.033 kg per centimeter square. 1 kg can be converted into Newton as per 9.81 Newton. So this is just the unit conversion. So value of atmospheric pressure is 101.3 kiloliter per meter square, or it may be 10.13 Newton per centimeter square, or it may be 1.033 kg per centimeter square. So this is the atmospheric pressure. So here P is the atmospheric pressure, then H is called the atmospheric pressure head. That is the head corresponding to this pressure. If this is atmospheric pressure, then it is called atmospheric pressure head. If there is other pressure, then it is called the pressure head. This is the difference how this atmospheric pressure head is defined. So in case of mercury, what is the atmospheric pressure head and what is the atmospheric pressure head in case of water? So you can see here atmospheric pressure is this much, 101.3 kiloliter per meter square. So in SI unit it is 101.3 multiplied by 1000. So it is your Newton per meter square. That is equal to density. In case of water, density is 1000 kg per meter cube. Value of G is 9.81 and multiplied by H. So this H is called here the atmospheric pressure head. From here H can be computed and H will come this 10.33 meter of water. 10.33 meter of water. So you can compute this value also. See, I am using the calculator here to see what is the value is coming. So this is your 101.3, just this 1000 will cancel out, divide by 9.81, it will come 10.326, that is 10.33 meter. So this is in case of water. Here if you put the density of mercury 13,600 kg per meter cube, then the value of H that you will get is 760 mm. This is the value in case of mercury. Similarly, if there is other fluid, if you know the density, you can compute the pressure head corresponding to that fluid. So in case of mercury, it is 760 mm atmospheric pressure head. In case of water, atmospheric pressure head is 10.33 meter of water. So this is about your all three types of pressure and the relationship among them and how to compute this atmospheric pressure head. So thank you for this class.